Hello, how's it going, guys? Welcome to Oye Cinema Club. It's me, your lovely host, Steve, and we're going to talk about Chicago. But I am not alone, as you can see. I'm here with the lovely Sky and also with the amazing panel of hosts, El Dondino, Jason Eccles, and Marina, aka Watch
Uh-oh.
Right. And we are discussing today the movie Chicago. And it has nothing to do with fire departments, but it has a lot to do with cops and a lot to do with murder and a lot to do with white women getting away with stuff and a lot to do with music, cults. And the reason I picked this movie was actually because I surprisingly watched this during Halloween time ish in Colombia. And I was shocked first that this movie got picked in Halloween as the Halloween themed movie to watch in the hostel I was staying. But then I was shocked about how awesome this film was because I typically do not like musicals. And then also I was surprised I was one of the few people that actually stayed awake and watched the whole movie because everybody at the hostel fell asleep watching it. So I want you guys to tell me your first impressions. And I am going to start with the first time guest here. Sky, tell me your first impressions.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Uh, I thought that at first you're taken back by the sexual nature of the dancing and the script and the characters and topics of affair, topics of, um, definitely very big topic of affair and cheating and infidelity. And this scene, I mean, the scenes were awesome. Like the dancing was amazing, the acting was amazing, and it had a corny like air to it, but I think it felt almost too real in the same way because of the violence that was, you know, felt by these scripted women, but we all can relate to sensations of violence and justifiable vengeance. And we were just talking about um, cold cases, and like there's definitely something about our human nature that we're always open to exploring. So that's me.
Can I, can I, can I
All
ask you,
the
was
things that,
this your first time, Sky, watching it?
yeah, absolutely.
No. Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's go with Marina.
Yay. First time watching it for me as well. Um, I am like a hit or miss musical lover. Um, I'm not gonna lie, I think when a musical is super hyped up, sometimes it takes a second for me to like adjust to the energy. Like especially like after a long week and people just start dancing around in stilettos. You're just like, okay, calm down, guys. It took me a couple times to like kind of get into it. Like I think like I don't know what I was expecting. Like the intro, I had to fast rewind it a couple times. Like did somebody kill somebody yet? Like I just like I didn't know when it was gonna start, like in that first song and dance. But um it started growing on me, like obviously when the crime started and I kind of understood what was going on because I've heard of the movie and I've seen like other shows and movies kind of like pay tribute to it. Like people will dress up and like sing He Had It Coming and something. I've seen that in a couple different things. But yeah, at first it was just a lot to digest. I didn't really understand what was happening and that like the musical world was a fantasy of the real world. But once I started like understanding what was happening, it was just almost exciting to as Guy said, like the realness of it, like, man, like, is it true? Like, do people's verdict get a little construed when you're the most popular story in the news. It was something to think about, how you're curious if like things have changed. Is that how it used to be before there were like, it was like illegal to talk to witnesses and things like that? Were you able to manipulate it a little bit more as a lawyer back then? So it went from like too much to like very interesting very quickly.
Cool. Interesting.
Thank you so much, Marina. Let's go with Jason.
Yeah, thanks. So this is my second time watching the movie. I originally saw it in, I think, '02 when it came out in theaters. And I think about it, that's a long time ago. I have not seen the movie since. So this time watching the film, what it makes me is makes me a little nostalgic this time watching it, because I'm thinking about these actors in this movie, and this is all of them pretty much at like the height of their powers. Pretty much, this is like Catherine Zeta-Jones. This is like her biggest like moment. You know, like this is like as big as she pretty much got to. And same thing for what's her face, the other lead. Why is her name not coming to my mind?
Renee?
Yeah, Renee
No.
Zellweger. Yeah, Renee Zellweger. But then like also John C. Reilly is super dope in this thing. And I remember this was one of the early movies that I had seen of his, actually. I think I may have only seen him in one or two other movies. So when I saw him in this, he still kind of like, he steals the show for me, because you forget that John C. Reilly's a really good actor. Like forget all the comedy stuff. He's a really good actor. And then like him also being the clown sort of thing in this is awesome. Yeah, I like this musical. It's not my favorite musical, not by far. And as far as like most musicals, I like Hollywood musicals. This was, I think, maybe the most boring. But it's not boring. It's just because I think it's good. I think it's one of the good ones. But I would like, if there is a top 100 Hollywood musicals list, this might be like number 99 or 100 for me. Like that's,
Damn.
I think how far down I would put it. But I think it will be maybe top 100. I think it's terrific.
Jason, damn.
But there's some things like Richard Gere's character. And I'm just being honest. Like Richard Gere, I don't hate this movie at all. I'm just saying where I think it stands. For me, like today, I wouldn't cast Richard Gere in that part as Billy Flynn. I wouldn't do that. Like that doesn't seem like the best casting. There's somebody
That
like
is revisionist history. If you put this in '99 because of Richard Gere, then boy, do you have to go through all the other musical movies from eternity that are doing blackface or Shirley Temple or this and that, and we gotta have that whole conversation. So this has to be higher up. Is all I'm saying.
This is just my impression. This is just my first impression watching the movie for the second time ever.
But Dino, comparing blackface to Richard Gere not being like saucy enough, I don't know. It's not the same conversation. Like
He's not saucy enough for me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know who else it could have been. George Clooney, somebody who can sing, I guess. But for what it's worth, I will say this is a good film, and I liked it. And there's a lot to like about it. I had forgot that Maya, the singer, is in that one scene dancing like, and I was like, I had a huge crush on her like my entire teenage life. So seeing her in this movie, that was kind of nice. That was a nice little throwback. Huh?
I thought that was Maya. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, that's her. Yep, that's Maya.
She looked great in the movie. She did I loved it. I love seeing her.
Yeah, she's a terrific dancer and performer. So yeah, that was really nice seeing her in that. So yeah, these would be my second impressions of the film, I think. But I think it holds up. I think it holds up as a musical from then till now. Like it still works.
We appreciate the hate, Jason. Let's go with Dino.
Man, not my first time watching it. I can't remember if I saw it in the theaters. This is one of those I saw it in Paraguay. So sometimes movies didn't make it to the theater in Paraguay. So I can't remember if it was or wasn't. I grew up when there was one movie theater in the whole country of Paraguay. No, that's a lie. There were like four. All the other ones were triple X movie theater, so that couldn't go. So I loved this movie when it came out. I just thought it was so great. I thought it's really catchy music. I liked the characters. I was already like I liked John C. Riley because it was like Magnolia. I feel like that came out before this, and some
Yep.
other movies I had seen him in. Um, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Queen Latifah. Like I mean, I had a crush on all of them. And watching this again, I'm like, yeah, I still have a crush on all of them. Like it was great. Um, I also really like that whole period of Chicago, kind of gangsters, that kind of era. So I just thought this was a really clever kind of style of musical movie, that it's like in their minds because they're in prison, but they can kind of daydream and stuff like that on being on the stage and all that. I was thinking the same thing Jason was thinking though, of like as much Richard Gere, he had the marionette or the dummy song and all that, especially I thought was great. But it is one of those that I was wondering, like, man, if this were cast now, who would you cast in slightly different roles? Because for the most part, it was really well done. Again, I remember there was some hate on this movie.
Timothy
Even I
Chalamet.
think I was gonna say you, Jason. I want to see your dancing, your soft
My Billy
shoe, and
Clan.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But oh, so I was yeah. I remember there was some hate. Again, I'm not a singer, so I can't tell. Sometimes people are like, no, that girl doesn't have a voice, or it's touched. I can notice that. I believe, at least in class. I don't know if ever for an actual audition, but I did do Mr. Cellophane for audition material for the few times I tried to maybe sing for an audition. So that definitely took me back. I feel right around this period is when I feel Hollywood broke John C. Riley from trying to just go serious actor, and that's when he was like, "Screw it, I'm just gonna go balls to the walls, shake and bake. I'm doing as many just comedies because he was getting no respect. He was also I was looking at the Oscars because I knew it won certain things. He was in three of the best film nominations of that year.
Yep.
Like that's
I remember that.
insane.
I remember that. That was his year.
It was The Hours, the Chicago, and Gangs of New York. And then I was looking at that, I was like, that was a stacked Oscars year. Like there was a lot of stuff
Wait, what was
that
the
year
other
that
one?
came out.
Gangs of New York, Chicago,
The
and what?
The Hours with Nicole
Oh, The
Kidman.
Hours. That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So anyway, watched it again. I still enjoy it. I'm gonna have a lot of those songs now stuck in my head that I had finally gotten out of me about 10 years ago. So thanks a lot. That's it. It's a great. I enjoyed it. It's fun.
Thank you so much for the love, Dino. So let's go with my first impression. So this is my segunda vez watching this film. I watched it first in Cali, Colombia, about maybe 2 months ago from this moment. And then I watched it now for the second time. And actually, watching it a second time, I realized that the whole musical stuff, in my opinion, something we can debate about, was basically Renee's Zellweger's imagination. Um, and because the first time I watched it, I was like Marina. I was just like, what is going on? What is this? Are we glorifying murder? What is going on with this? What is all this hatred against men? Uh, and uh, and then the second time watching it, I could appreciate that more. And I highly disagree with Jason's statement about Richard Gere. I think he did a fantastic job. I actually watching it a second time, appreciated even more his performance, and I will argue that his performance was actually one of the best in the entire movie. We can discuss about that. But before we get into all that stuff, first Marina has something she wants to get off her chest. I feel like I feel like it's moment before we don't have this moment anymore.
Well, I just had to defend Jason because you were being like, "Oh, thanks for the love." Do you know? And I'm like, at least Jason watched it. You know, you didn't watch Little Women, and this was basically Little Women dancing.
I watched all the Little Women.
Oh no, not you. I was saying it to the guy who said thanks for the love, the way he said it.
Oh, okay.
So I'm in a better place now. Thank you.
Okay. Great.
Alrighty. So the first topic I want to get into is oh, I'm sorry, this was the wrong one. The first topic I want to get into is what was your favorite song / musical number?
Oh, that's like making me pick of my unborn children. Which my favorite unborn children?
Not I. But she had a coming song for me. It's the only one I remember, so I'm gonna start there.
That's
Yeah,
what
I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna second that notion and just keep it there because I do agree with that. That's the one that's like the catchiest for me as well.
You know, as much as I do like the Billy songs and the marionette, just a whole movement, like that would be what I would really be into. I think it's a cell block tango. Like it's got multiple. It has a little bit. I don't know if you would call it stomp. That starts with the drops of water and then the foot, the stepping, and it's a multi. You know, it's not just the main characters, but you find out the story of the other inmates and Lipschitz. You know, and yeah, and it's got eye candy, right? I mean, that watching it again, I was like, "Ooh la la!" I forgot how you know how this was shot and done, and really good choreography. I will say the editing of really was a clever editing because I don't know how well all of them would be able to dance in that kind of like a full song. That's the only thing I would kind of, if this were done again, if we're going with the Richard Gere thing, which I was fine with, is I would like to see like wide shots of the dance numbers, kind of seeing um, them kind of performing longer parts of the dance, right? If they were able to do the full kind of, I think La La Land maybe did a little bit more of long shots of dancing. Might be wrong about that, but that would be one thing I would have liked to have maybe seen more. But it was really well edited. Captain Zeta-Jones was a
even that, I feel like it kind of, you really pointed out something that created a sense of novelty because ultimately, like, it was a lot of really, really close shots where you're seeing like a hip swing and like just like someone, like a facial expression, like you're seeing everything like super close up and you don't know in the context of like where they are and how many people are around them, like, but just I feel like it mimics our eyes and how we really only see like the size of, you know, a pencil, and like because we move our eyes so much, our brain like uses that information from that, you know, one frame of reference to construct our reality. And
Right.
so I feel like the way it was definitely, you know, it had a very artistic element. I think they really tried to encapsulate what it would be like to experience this. Like, I can't imagine you guys saying you saw it in theaters. I cannot imagine how much different, you know, more impactful I feel like it would have been if I was in a theater.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
interesting too.
I mean, I believe I won 6 Oscar, and I think one of them was editing, and so that would make sense. Also, like
Definitely.
even just the sparkly fringes on the dress, just showing quick shots. Like, I think it made a you made a great point of just like your eyes are just kind of going back and forth, and you get little glimpses, and they did a really really good job of kind of taking our eyes in certain parts of how to insinuate no shit what's the word uh English and
Just
Is
say
it
it in
not?
Spanish, bro.
Is it not insinuate?
no, it's not
Use your
insinuate.
vowels. Use
La la la
use
la
your
la
vowels.
uh uh put in focus on the words or beats of the song with a certain body movements or close-ups to faces, you know uh
Emphasis. Emphasis.
what is it?
Emphasis.
Focus.
Emphasis, yeah, but it's a accentuate.
There you
Insane.
go.
Emphasis, accentuate. Woo!
Accentuate.
All right, I'm done. That's
There
it.
you go.
Good night, Dino. Have a good sleep, buddy.
We appreciate you, you know.
He used his very last brain cell for that one.
It's
We
hard
appreciate it.
out here
We
for Pear
appreciate
Wine.
it.
That's right.
What is your favorite?
My favorite. I was thinking that's hard because I think I'd have to watch it again to like really pick a favorite because I really was like I felt very immersed and I I like appreciated all the scenes, like especially the Marriott scene. Is that
Dummy. Yeah, yeah.
that scene was definitely really cool. The choreography, like the the way that she actually had, a handle that was like fastened to her dress, like stitched to her dress, like the
Yep.
conversation with the costume department must have been very interesting because the dress didn't look like super durable, but it just was so, and probably most of it was more so, you know, choreographed movement. So she's not actually putting her weight on it, but it just felt very, I'd never seen something so like interesting. And especially when he went into the playing the reporters, like it was very immersive, I felt like. And I really enjoyed like the artistic level of it. I think there was so much that can be deconstructed from like all of the themes that came up. Yeah. So that, but I didn't answer the question.
For sure.
um maybe I definitely like the jail song too. When the first night she was in there just tripping, talking about blankets and shit. Yeah. That was the top one for sure.
Right
It
on.
did win best costume for Oscars as well. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
all that I think really really
I can see
helped,
that.
right?
Costumes are spectacular in this thing. I will say that. And the costumes help tell the story as much as anything else.
I was gonna have a very long and extravagant answer, but just because y'all didn't show any love to this one, I'm gonna flat out say best favorite musical number. I was gonna say a bunch of other ones, but I'm gonna say this one because y'all a bunch of haters. Queen Latifah's.
Hmm.
Oh yes, of course, of course, of
Is
course,
he
Yeah.
good to mama?
of course.
Yes. Talk about a performance.
Nah, that was good.
Talk about maximizing your minutes on a film.
It was amazing.
She
Yeah.
did get
For sure.
nominated for supporting,
Mhm.
and Catherine Zeta-Jones won that year, but they were both nominated for best supporting. So yeah, she killed it, and her voice, woo, so good. I forget how sexual that was. Also, like maybe, which is weird. I wasn't really all that young. It's not like I've been to prison, so I would know what it would be about. But watching it this time, after X amount of rotations around the sun, I guess I was like, "Oh la la, Queen Latifah. What is she? What favors is she getting?"
Absolutely. No, I was really
Star-studded cast. I did forget about her.
And that's the thing, like the fact that I feel like a lot of there was certain musical numbers that definitely felt more memorable than others.
Mhm.
And, maybe that's also a reflection of the film.
Yeah,
And, the context of everything.
because I do agree with that because I feel like the more you watch this, and I think it is a rewatchable film
Hmm.
because it has so many different numbers, and even though the camera editing is taking you to certain visuals, you can also find different songs hit you differently every time you watch it. You know, so maybe if you've been going to jury duty or you're going to contest a parking ticket, you're gonna, be tearing up a little, maybe, collapsing on the floor, be like, "Oh, I'm pregnant." They're like, "Come on, man, get off the floor." So I can see that being a thing for sure.
So I want to open it up to y'all. What do you want to talk about in the film?
Well, I'd like to know who everybody's favorite character was, or who you might have identified with in this film.
I think I'll go real quick with this, at least as a starting thing, but it can always change because we're all just malleable.
Hmm.
Uh, John C. Riley. There was something about Mr. Cellophane, about kind of not being in the limelight and trying to be good and supportive and all that, but kind of being stepped on. Uh, and he's the kindest character of them all. Like he's the one person that's just trying to be a good person and be supportive. Like everyone else has an angle, and he just wants to, support his wife. So I go. I feel like that's seeing it early on. Like it was, yeah,
You
I
have
agree with that 1,000%. I had the same exact perspective, so I won't bore you guys with any more than what Dino just said. But yeah, that's Amos was he was the heart of the film for me.
and
uh,
the fact that oh sorry, I was in the court. Finally, when he has him as a witness, he calls him Amos, and he's like, "Oh my god!" And then as soon as he's done, it's back to like Andy or whatever. It's just a small little bits of that of him. It's just like, heartbreaking.
one, the fact that he made him divorce his wife just to get him back at court and do that performance.
Yep.
Amazing. But I'm gonna piggyback and say yes. This time, especially watching it, I felt very bad for Amos. But then I read in the Wikipedia, if you look it up in the Wikipedia of Amos, he said he actually later, after all that tragic stuff happening to him, he became the famous Amos and became a millionaire. So I don't feel so bad.
Yeah,
Did we see that though? Did we
I
see
think
that?
famous Amos was actually black. Can we get the fact checkers to look that up just so that we know?
Definitely is.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
Napoleon, the movie, is fine. But if you read his Wikipedia, it's amazing. Or any
Didn't
of
you
the
see that for your
Wolverine.
birthday?
What?
Didn't you see that for your birthday?
Yeah, I did. Hey, it was. I'm just saying that 70 millimeter. It was a great time and experience. You know, I enjoyed it. I knew going into the. I wasn't super excited to go see that movie, but I wanted to go back to the Vista Theater, and I'd recommend everyone to go there and support because it's actual film. Which brings me to I kind of how my camera looks pretty grainy. I feel like. Did anyone notice like the movie looked like film? It looked grainier than
Yeah.
most of the digitalized movies that we've seen, even from the 2000s that we've seen before, or the Little Women. Um,
This
that
was one of the last really big films that was all film. This is that
is
last
that,
era.
but digitizing it, I feel like you tend to clean it up. Is that because of the way they were doing lighting and the staging of it, or is that just
Yeah, man.
that I notice it more than the other movies we've seen? Like it
Well,
looks
yeah,
really
like
good.
doing certain like texturizing to the film, or certain colors and certain chemical processes on the film. It changes like the grade of how we see it. But
And
I like
maybe
it because it makes it look more real in a way
yeah,
than like
yeah.
something that maybe shot on 4K, where like it's 4K looks so real that it's fake.
But
You know what I mean? Like
4K is
it's like it
starting,
makes you think these are actors acting this out instead of me witnessing a thing happening.
and maybe it's because we just saw Napoleon 70 millimeter film print at the Vista, and
Okay, are they paying you?
I'm trying to. Quentin, get in touch with Jason. He's my manager.
Okay.
Um, but maybe it's because we just saw that, and we just like that's the first movie off projector that I've seen in a long time. That's what really popped out watching it this time. But because yeah, I feel like 4K films for the most part now, I feel that it's almost becoming more 2D, like flatter. Because with kind of this film and the lighting and the coloring, like they're actually shades. Like you can see shading happening more than if it's just like let's make everything 100% clear. So, how we get into this? Does this constitute a sidebar? Anyway, I enjoyed the
Yep.
grading of this film and how it looked like like grainy. I like the grainy effect to it. It was
I
beautiful.
agree. I definitely agree. I think like the lighting also played a really big factor in the movie itself. Like especially thinking about the poor the husband's monologue performance, like where it was only like a spotlight on his face, you couldn't even see his body.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, the spotlight was on him on accident and he's in clown makeup. And it's just like, oh, like, and even at the end, like, it's just, she did him so dirty.
Did anybody else?
Dirty. She's like, what? I'm not pregnant.
Did anybody else think he was gonna kill her? I thought that's how they were gonna end the movie. Like
he had to be the pure one. He had to be.
Yeah, he was the heart. Him and
Nice
the him and the one woman who actually didn't commit the crime that got hung were the two kind of souls. But you know who was pregnant during shooting of the film?
T.
Catherine Zeta-Jones was, I guess, a few months pregnant while filming. So
I think
interesting.
I've heard
That
that
probably-
before.
She looked different. I'm definitely like
Oh yeah.
she's always been my little girl crush, and I like her story of how she got into acting. But I don't like her with short hair. I wasn't feeling it.
it was a wig. She didn't want to cut her hair off, so that was clearly. I don't know if that's why it looked a little weird or not.
No,
but
she
yeah.
she probably knew it wasn't for her. Like I like everybody else with their short hair, the blonde Queen Latifah, but it just wasn't working for her.
Queen Latifah, when she would get that hair, whew. And then after Roxy started getting famous and Queen Latifah was sporting her same hairstyle.
That was hilarious. But
No,
yeah.
and it's probably because you've seen her with like longer hair. Because like I feel like if I've seen her before, like I think one of the things about actors and actresses is like we praise them for the variety of roles that they can nail. Like that's really what defines, I feel like for me, a really talented actor, actress, someone who can just, take on any character. And hair and makeup and costume have a lot to do with helping to get that actor to a place of, fully connecting and embodying a character and an energy. So it's interesting that you probably prefer her better in the role that you're thinking of with the longer hair. That might have been a better performance for her. Would you say that?
Maybe it could attribute a little bit. I just think her facial structure is so prominent that it kind of sticks out. Like for me, I have a large face, so when I have short hair, it looks ridiculous. It's like my face. I just think she has such a bold face that it's good to blend in hair. But I can see what you're saying because I love her in Zorro, and her hair is nice and long and luscious in the wind. So it could attribute to why it's hard for me to see her in a different look and appreciate.
I always see her whenever I think of Catherine Zeta-Jones. I think I usually first see her in Entrapment with the long, kind of silky pressed hair.
I was gonna say Entrapment also. Between Zorro and Entrapment, those are my two visuals of her.
Yep.
Was the Sean Connery, right? Sean Connery and Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Yeah, Sean Connery. Yeah.
I think that's on
it was
my
the
list.
scene where she's going underneath the laser.
Oh, I know what scene you're talking about. Practicing with the red string. Yeah.
The practice string. Yeah, the practice scene.
Yeah.
So, guys, opening the floor one more time. Is there anything else you guys want to talk?
Well, I guess I didn't say my favorite character.
You said it. Catherine Zeta-Jones in Zorro apparently is your favorite character.
No, I did like her character though, so yeah, I'll stick with that. She was kind of like a boss babe. Like we were focused on the blonde the whole time, and low key, she got out of jail too. Wow, she was super, and she killed 2 people. Everybody only killed 1. Come on.
Yeah, she was making moves.
Lucy Liu came in with 3 kills at the very end. What? I forgot about her coming in.
Oh yeah, me too. Such a random.
Lucy Liu went to a threesome and killed it.
Yeah,
I see what you did there.
Yeah, a lot of random cameos.
She was the 4th wheel, I guess, in the threesome. I was like,
She came straight out of Kill Bill.
Yeah. 2002. Yeah, that was kind of at her height also, huh? Right around that time period.
Yeah. Oh, I think Lucy Liu peaked at Kill Bill. But yeah, she was really big, and Charlie's Angel was her summit place for her fame. But then Kill Bill was sort of that was the thing she got at her summit. Of their celebrity, I mean.
I forgot her name while I was watching the movie, and I was telling my husband what's her name again? I was like Lululemon.
Yeah,
we're both sitting here singing the Destiny's Child song instead of just going on Google. I'm like,
I love this.
Cameron D, Destiny. I'm like, what? they talk about Charlie's Angels in that in a Destiny's Child song, and I was just really trying to use that song to figure out the name. It did not work.
This had a stacked cast. It had Dominic, who of course, yeah. When I saw this, I had no idea, right? Because HBO boycotted Paraguay because Paraguay was getting HBO illegally from Argentina. So then HBO found that and was like, we're not sending you guys any HBO. Yeah, so it wasn't until later that until now that I saw him and I was like, I know that face. I was like, oh shit, The Wire. There you go. And then who was the female reporter is also pretty big. She's in everything. A lot of these people have worked together not just in different movies, like the writer, director, choreographer, movie editors, stuff like that. They've worked on other musicals together and also TV shows. So kind of interesting. Clearly, it seemed like same group of people were kind of liked working with each other.
Hey, Dina, would you say HBO cut The Wire to pair one?
Cut the
The, re-
cable.
the reporter was the lady from The Grinch, right?
Yes, that's
That
I definitely have to watch it again because there was so many just like because like I
Yo,
wanted to say like my favorite character, but I have to just first remember all the people that were in it because it was just like such an interesting cast, and I definitely feel like I could tell before I even knew what you shared, Dino, that people had worked together before, and because there was an energy of like everything felt cohesive, everything like played into the story. I don't feel like there was any element that was off. You know, it all felt like it was a part of the same world, and I think um, it was really special. And this is, I mean, for me, like I've done work in theater, I've done like costume work, and been behind the scenes in like theater and film, and I feel like having that, you know, team creating something live
yeah.
is, you know, it either everybody gets along and everything's beautiful, or it's like it's something that could be great, but for whatever reason, it's like. But I think that the feat of putting together a performance like this is, you know, was something that they were able to meet with this film. I really enjoyed it, to be honest.
Yeah,
Right on.
I mean, it's very cohesive. It's just watching it again. I'm like, man, this one I felt like, and again, I don't know if because it had been nominated for so many things that a lot of times there's hate, a lot of times there's hate for musicals, but it's really well done. You know, was it necessarily the best film of that year? I don't, that's very subjective, but that it's really well done and it fits really well. Like all the pieces we've talked about, costumes and editing and the songs and the dancing, like everything was kind of firing on all cylinders. Um, Christine Baranski is the actress who was also the reporter. Miss Sunshine, is that what they called her? Sunshine.
Yes. Yeah. Mary Sunshine or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mary Sunshine. Mary Sunshine. So, yeah.
So
Oh, and
this
she's been.
movie. Go ahead.
I was just. She was in Into the Woods and Mamma Mia, but a lot of the people, a lot of the maybe the director and stuff was also Into the Wood. Like again, a lot of people then went and did
Yes,
like Mary
he directed
Poppins
Into the Woods.
and Beauty and the Beast and Into the Woods, and they had a lot of carryover, which is huge in the business, right? Like you want to keep working with the same people, the same crew, like the same actors. If you know each other, there's that shorthand. Whoa, what did I just do? There's that shorthand when you know someone and you've worked with them for so long, not just in the tech part of it or the backstage part of it, but also, in front of the camera. Like it makes it, and it makes it funner, right? There's this uh, time to try and figure each other out again and find that out. So, yeah. What were you
Right
gonna
on.
say, Jason?
I was going to give you guys a little stats on the film. So this movie grossed worldwide 306 million. Very successful on a $45 million budget. So this
I
movie
was
was in
gonna say
fact
50
a
million. Yeah,
blockbuster,
yeah, yeah. I
which
was gonna
is
say
big
50.
for a musical. just 20 years ago. Like people were seeing musicals. I guess when they're nominated for like 12 Oscars.
Yeah.
But yeah, this thing was a big deal.
Renee Zellweger, Renee Zellweger. I got a Zellweger. Yeah, this was at her height, I feel like, and Catherine Zeta-Jones. Like it was just no one's talked about Tay Diggs. What's right?
Tay Diggs. I mean, yeah, he's in this thing. I mean, he's a Broadway star.
He's huge.
So
Yeah,
he's like Tay Diggs is like a Broadway legend, actually. Like by the first time we ever see him, I think in Stella's Got Her Groove, he was already a Broadway legend when he did that movie.
He was Broadway before.
Yeah, he was the original character in Rent.
Oh, really? I had no idea.
Him and his I think his wife that he married, Ida Menzel or whatever her name was, they were both in Rent together, the original cast.
Oh, from Wicked? Is that who you're thinking of?
Yeah,
Isa?
Wicked. She also was an original cast member in Rent.
We're butchering all their names. I think I don't know.
Menzel.
But anyway,
I didn't know they were married. What the heck? Are they still?
Yeah,
there's pictures of them.
No, I think they just got a divorce because he said something like, I forget. It was something like she doesn't understand black people or something weird like that.
I thought they couldn't afford rent anymore.
They're married. They were married for 11 years, 2 months, 6 days, and 25 hours. I'm just kidding. But they were married.
I was going to say
24 minutes.
They were married for 11 years. They got divorced in 2014.
572 days.
So let's go, before final thoughts, to the one question that I'm sure is in every viewer's mind and everybody here on the panel is, what did you think of Shia LaBeouf's cameo? Let's start with Dino.
Shia LaBeouf cameo? Oh, was he the newspaper boy?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
I was like, is there a freaking kid in this movie? Is it really, or are you just messing? Was he in newspaper? What's that? The Disney movie? Newsies. Was he in Newsies, and you're just making a joke, or was that actually him?
No, that's him.
Yeah,
probably the best work. Probably the best work I've seen him do. He had two choices. He looked, he reacted, he made a strong choice. It was acting.
I think he's too young for Newsies. Came out in 92.
Yeah, we'll see how.
Wow, that's interesting. I just didn't notice that. I feel like I'm delayed, but I also look kind of cool.
You always look cool, Marina.
Thank you.
What do you think, Scott?
I did not notice Shia LaBeouf in his.
Yeah, I didn't notice him. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Okay, so let's go into final thoughts.
I'll do one quick question just because I thought it's a fun little tidbit. This didn't win Best Original Song. What won Best Original Song that year?
You Got a Friend in Me.
Close.
Well, none of these songs would have been originals, right? So
no, they made an original. One of them is original that they added. It might be the last one. Chicago didn't win the original song. The person that won did not show up to the Oscars.
Oh, it was 8 Mile.
Yep.
Eminem.
Lose Yourself.
I heard that he was watching cartoons. He didn't think he was going to win, so he didn't go. And he was watching cartoons he fell asleep watching cartoons with his daughter.
Oh.
So he didn't even watch the show. He didn't think he was going to win, so he missed it.
I heard his palms were sweating, his knees were weak.
Yeah.
I heard something about his mom's spaghetti.
They probably had spaghetti that night while they were watching.
He vomited on his sweater already.
Probably had spaghetti with his daughter that night.
He was losing himself in the moment with his daughter watching TV.
That's right.
It's
You gotta
movie.
never,
Watching
you gotta never
cartoons.
let it go. You only get one shot.
Final thoughts. Because we only get one shot. Do not make your
So,
chance.
final thought. I'll start us off. I think that this thing, like I said, holds up as a musical. I think it does the material justice, which is always important when you're making a film of a musical because it's like that's huge, man. This thing's a big property, a big IP, and people have seen so many people do the role before it's like cemented in like Hollywood money. It's cemented in Hollywood history on film, and then these kind of become the what you think about when you think about the role going forward. For the most part, like if the music is too big, or I mean, if the musical is too big, you start thinking about these actors in the role. So it's really kind of a big deal when you think about it. But I think this is done justice. I think this is directed well. I think this is a shining example of things that were mentioned earlier about everybody kind of did their job on this thing. Like all the costume people, the choreographer people, the makeup, the hair, the lighting, the directing, the acting, the singing, probably the singing coaches, the music people. Like everybody held their own and they held this thing up to a high standard. And this is what we get. We get a really, really well done film and really well done musical with a lot of very talented people attached to it. That's my main thing about it. Would I recommend this to anyone? It's really hard for me to recommend this movie to someone. There's something about it. Maybe it's the story for me. I can't quite put my hand on it, but it's really hard for me to recommend this thing. Like only in conversation for reference, I think would I recommend this film. To be honest with you, I just don't feel like most people generally are going to like it.
That's
Does that make
weird.
sense? Like you guys
No.
think like generally people would like this movie?
Women.
I think there's $500 million that says otherwise, Jason. But all right.
This is true. I just don't know who I would recommend it to in life.
Yeah.
And I usually can think of someone, just not this time. Would I watch it again? I think I will watch it again for reference. Maybe in like another 20 years.
20 years when I watched it before.
Okay.
Well, it's been 20 since the last time I watched it.
You're just fine. So I feel like I get it, right? What Jason's talking about. Like, but the opposite way. I feel like everybody who wanted to see this film has seen it already. So I would struggle simply because I feel like if you are into musicals, you've probably saw this in middle school already. You know what I mean? Like, so
Right.
it's hard for me to find like non-musical loving people that haven't seen every musical that's already out. So it's not
Right.
so much like somebody wouldn't like it, but I just feel like it's very like everyone's seen Annie, everyone's everyone's seen Fiddler on the Roof. Like it's tough. So not so much because it wouldn't be liked, but because it's so popular, I feel late to the game. Like I feel like I wouldn't really be in a conversation where it's like, oh man, this musical I haven't seen. I'm like, you should watch Chicago, and they'll probably look at me like I'm crazy. Like I already saw that. But final thoughts for me individually. I really enjoyed it. I do wish there was a couple more catchy songs. I do love catchy songs that I'll never forget. But I love the stories. I secretly love that we got two women who didn't go to prison for standing up for themselves. I know it's a weird line where people should do time when they take lives, but feels kind of victorious. Women won, society 555,000. So I'll take this win for the women, and I'll probably watch it again because I feel like there's stuff I missed, and there, like I said, there was a lot of like stories going on within. So I'll definitely watch it again.
Right on.
Right.
Let me just add a little editor note in there. I would recommend this to musical theater students and children of the arts.
I'll jump in with that because I want to say, if it's been 20 years, all these kids that you're saying watched it in middle school. What about all the kids in middle school that have seen La La Land and maybe Mamma Mia, Here I Come Again, and Mamma Mia, Trey, or whatever, how many ever Mamma Mias they're making? This is getting to the year where it's going to be like Grease or like West Side Story, like one of those films that maybe, or Cabaret, because that people will find, like younger people will have to find it because it is a little more sexual than what I remember it being. So I feel like this would be a recommendation, I think, for younger musical theater kids or whatever that they might not have seen. Kind of like when we were kids, we might not have seen Grease or West Side Story or any of those classic musicals, if you will. What I will say as a final thought is I didn't realize it until watching. Like I knew I was based off of musical, and that Bob Fosse had something to do with that. But then also it was based off of a play before the musical came after the was based off a play as well. So now I'm really interested to be like, oh, I wonder, is it a drama? I would imagine the play was a drama that then they turned it into a musical. So that's what I'm going to be probably doing after this is looking into a little bit what this play was that it got based off on.
So
So
it was a play that was based off of a book or something like that, based off of a true story. Like this was like something that really happened in Chicago.
oh, so I kind of remember hearing that, but I just thought maybe it was one case, of maybe someone that was just like, you know, um,
No, there was murder behind this story for real.
well, no, that there was murder, but not, not to that extent, just like on headlines. I imagine what I was thinking also, maybe it was before we even started talking about, maybe Sky was talking about it, of like how they became like celebrities or whatever. I was thinking of all the mugshots that kind of go viral, and like the guy that has like the full face tattoo, and then like all these different like uh inmates that have like workout videos and just like weird TikToks, or the what is it, was in China, the prisoners that did Thriller, or maybe it was in China, another Asian country, and they would have all the prisoners do the Thriller dance out there. It definitely had vibes of that kind of virality um, from back in the day. But yeah, I really enjoyed the movie. I would recommend this if people bring up musical movies or bring out. I also really, maybe because I was in Paraguay and I didn't recognize it there, but definitely this time it's like a pretty diverse cast of leads, especially that even back then you didn't see it as much, right? And the black guy, the only black guy, isn't the one trying to destroy jazz, like in other musicals where the black guy is the bad guy against jazz. I'm just putting that out there.
Hey, thanks, Dino.
Save jazz is all I'm saying.
Hey, we always appreciate your Paraguayan point of view and perspective. Let's go with Sky.
I definitely feel like I agree with a lot of things that you guys said, especially in talking about like who would I recommend this movie to. I think for me, I definitely see it being just an interesting movie to experience as like any discipline of creative because of how the visuals were shot, how the actors took on the roles, how the costumes and the lighting and everything just created this visual and audible. I mean, like also the sound design in terms of the songs and how everything played together. I definitely felt immersive, but also something that was just I could appreciate as someone who knows that behind every beautiful thing, there's someone who like created that from an idea in their head, and I think that's really beautiful. So yeah, that's my final thoughts.
For
Grateful,
sure.
guys. It's been really nice to talk about the movie with you all.
Right on.
Likewise.
Get up.
Alrighty,
Okay.
that's been the review of Chicago.
And for you,
Well,
did you do final thoughts?
Huh?
Your final thought?
What?
Final thought?
I said it at the beginning.
Did you?
You did first, final thought?
Yeah, don't you remember?
Nope.
I remember.
Ah.
Marina and I don't remember, but that's all right.
I remember Jason saying I'll go first.
Yeah.
I was trying to end it under an hour, but hey, you guys.
I know, and I wanted you to push it just ever so slightly. But yeah.
Push it. Okay, so final thought. I enjoyed it. I think it was great. Jason's hating. Dino's racist. Marina is a sweet person. That her laptop died. She loves Catherine Zeta-Jones in her sorrow. She might pick that movie next. I feel it like in my bones that she might pick that movie when it's her turn. And Sky did amazing for her first time, so I want to give it up to Sky.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, like for you guys. You guys have been amazing.
And I would recommend it to also people that like musical theater, everybody in the LGBTQ plus community, and people that still, for some reason, listen to Justin Bieber at this day and age. Definitely recommend it. They might be obsessed with murders and white women getting away with it. But that's it for the film. That's the final thoughts.
All right. All right. Well, if that's your final thought, I guess I have one more question for you. Steve, what do you got for us next week?
Next week, I don't know why you asked me. I just went. If I went again, I'll be a dictator. And that's what's happening. I'm going again, ladies and gentlemen. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. The person that asked me gets rewarded. So, Jason, because you asked me, you're next for Cinema Club.
Oh, terrific. Well, for next week, I've chosen the 1974 film The Conversation, starring Gene Hackman, Harrison Ford, and John Cazale. Never seen it before? Come back next week, and we're going to talk about this thing and break it down.
Also a musical.
It's not a musical.
I'm so excited.
I can tell Marina is super excited. Look at that face of excitement.
You gotta get the screenshot of an old crumbling poster.
Actually, if I'm not mistaken, The Conversation is the movie where Freaky Friday and the movie of the Cheetah Girls got based from.
I have a sneaking suspicion this is going to be a good movie.
Why does he look so old in that poster? That's like the youngest we've seen Gene
This
Hackman.
is young Gene Hackman, everybody. It really
he
is.
looks older than what he is now.
That's the guy. That's the guy from The Sopranos, right?
Yeah.
And also a very young Harrison Ford in this film. So that's we get to look forward to this.
Okay.
All right.
So for El Dantino, Marina, Jason, Echoes, Steve, and Sky, we'll catch you next week. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao. Ciao, ciao, ciao.